In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the interesting things that happened at our recent Kelowna weekend astrology retreat. Hi, so I just wanted to introduce you to Norma, and I'm Alison, and we are doing the astrology retreats in Kelowna. It's a great fun weekend. We have wine tastings, and we do some yoga, and we have some fabulous little astrology classwork for you. So my journey started from Vancouver, from Pacific Central Station. I was going on the bus to Kelowna, and the bus trip takes about six hours. It's we left very early in the morning. It was, but you can see how dark it is, about 6:30. And I got to tell you, the weather was quite crisp there. I only took my one weekend bag, my little Rimowa, which is the one I take away just for a couple of days, and this is the actual bus I went on. It's they call it a bus, but I would have called it a coach. But anyway, lots of people on there, and here we are just getting on. Um, Here I am now settled in on my seat by the window, and you can see as dawn broke, it was quite a pleasant trip. The bus wasn't that particularly full, and we soon got out of Vancouver and we're moving along. There were several stops along the way, and I was able to get off and get a handy Mojo cafe, which I thought was quite interesting. And here we are in Canada. You are in Bear Country. Please store all your waste and pet food inside. That was a sign at the time when we stopped at Hope. And then here we are just moving along down the road in British Columbia. You can see how cold it is. There's actually fog just starting to nestle there on the mountains. It's not that cold yet, but it's probably about 5 degrees Celsius, and we can see that in the early morning the condensation is coming there to create fog along the mountains. And here we are just going through some of the smaller villages in BC. It's a really beautiful part of the world. And then on and on the bus went. We stopped at lots of little places all along the way, and then suddenly at one point I'm looking up, and then there's actually, we're going through a snowed-in forest. It's the first snow I've seen this year. We're talking October 2019, and we're just so high up on these mountains now that the snow is falling and actually laying there amongst the trees. And then finally we come over the crest of the mountain, and we can see the Lake Okanagan there in the basin as we approach West Kelowna, BC, Canada, coming into the last 10 minutes of our trip. It really is quite a long journey, but the bus ride, I find it suitable. I enjoy it. It's great. The weekend started off on Friday evening with a wine tasting in Norma's Suite in the Cove Lakeside Resort. It's beautiful there. We're looking onto Lake Okanagan, and this is the view from her deck in the early evening as we all gather for our fabulous private wine tasting. So this was, we had a selection of, I think there were 6 wines, a selection of sparkling whites and reds and all sorts. And I've listed all the wines we tasted in the show notes below. And Paolo was our convener for the wine tasting. It was an awful lot of fun. He guided us and taught us a real good amount about wines, and something about the pairing as well. And all the wines we actually had that evening were from the Okanagan Valley, which was great. And then we'll just have a quick look at the place where I was staying. In the morning I was looking out at my balcony, and this is what I thought. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit about our retreat in Kelowna that we had recently. It's the astrology read with wine and yoga, and it was absolutely fantastic. I just want to show you a little bit about the accommodations that we have out here, where you'd be staying, and it's absolutely beautiful out here. You can see Lake Okanagan in the background. What a wonderful view. Truly a peaceful spot. Yes, it was really lovely. I felt inspired. I took down my sketchbook, and I did a little drawing of the view there, and with my Look at sketchbook, and I like to do pen and ink drawings, and I used the Tombows just to colour it in. I only had a few colours with me, and I wanted to make a quick sketch of the place because it was so serene, so peaceful. The mountains across the way are just full of trees. It was great. So Saturday morning, that the main bulk of the workshop started, we were in the library workroom, and We had all the files and water bottles ready for our attendees. This is before we actually began. There was going to be muffins and croissants coming through for the coffee break. We have a selection of these are mainly Norma's books. That her astrology library is growing as we speak. There's lots coming in there as well, lots to learn, and these books were available for the students as we went through the weekend. And then there was available teas, coffee, and hot beverages in the morning, just to help everyone get in the mood and get organized for working on the retreat. This is the room we actually did the work in. It's called the library, and we were able to get the TV there with the whiteboard, and my presentation came through, so everyone was working together. The first one we did was Saturday morning was on the balances, afternoon we did the patterns, and then on Sunday we looked at the uses of astrology and then the future going forward. Then a little more about me and Norma having a chat about the whole retreat.
It's fantastic, right on the shores of Lake Okanagan. I can't think of a better place to have my astrology teacher come and share her knowledge with us. And we've just been having a great morning learning about the balances and the signs and the glyphs. And there's just so much information. You absolutely must join us.
Saturday evening we had dinner at the bonfire. I'm sorry I didn't get photos of that. And then after dinner we all mustered out to the fire pit, which was outside with our blankets, and sat around, had good conversation. There was a first quarter moon that we could see in the sky, which was great. It aided our conversation. We were talking about the astrology and what we'd learned that day. It was a little chilly, and the girls were all wrapped up beautifully. They were also staying at the resort overnight, and they have these fabulous fire pits, which I think they must be gas driven, I'm not even sure, but it was beautiful, over like perhaps 1.5 meters diameter going there, and everyone could sit around. There was room for everybody to enjoy the evening convivially. On the Sunday morning, we did a recording of Norma's podcast, which she puts out every single day on Astrology Today. I'll put the link below, and let's just listen in on that.
I did want to take a moment and just tell you that we have had such an amazing weekend with these ladies that have joined us. Caitlin is here, Courtney is here. We've learned so much from Allison, and she's been so generous to let me pipe in and share my thoughts about astrology as well. What have your impressions been of the weekend?
Oh, Norma, it's been a wonderful weekend. I was happy to work together with you. I was happy to have these young ladies here so we can inspire them to go further. I believe that there is massive potential here at the retreat for other women, and if we consider doing it next year, I believe it can only grow from strength to strength.
Well, and it's such a great location. It's beautiful. We're right on Lake Okanagan. Last night, like I said, we were up looking at the stars and the moon, and we had a beautiful dinner last night at the restaurant here. As Allison said, there's everything here. You don't even need to leave the building. There's just so much to do here, and we're hoping to make this an annual thing, or at least every other year. We'll certainly gauge interest, and we will let you know when the next one is. Keep in mind that I'm available on all of the podcast platforms. I invite you to find me on Breaker, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review. Send me an email with your comments or questions to astrologydiva, that's DVA, @gmail.com, and I'm happy to research your questions and answer possibly on a future episode. And that's how it's done every day.
So there's a quick overview of our recent Kelowna weekend astrology retreat. You should join us next year. So we look forward to seeing you next year. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. Bye.